You are listening to Golden Age Kids, which brings great stories of Islamic history to life for young listeners. Let us begin in the name of Allah and a dua for His guidance in all matters.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'an wa rizqan tayyiban wa amalan mutakabbalan. Ameen. We are going to begin with the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, his trials, his trust, and the legacy that still lives in every Muslim home. It's remembered in every Eid al-Adha and is commemorated in all the journeys to the house of Allah. This is episode 1, The Boy Who Asked.
The story begins at the edge of a town in ancient Babylon. Here stood a workshop full of empty faces. They leaned against the walls. They stood half-finished on shelves. They lay on tables under dust and shavings, waiting for the hands of a sculptor to smooth them, paint them, and carry them away. These were idols, statues made to worship. Some of these idols were carved from wood, some were shaped from stone, and some were small enough to fit into your pocket. But then there were others. They were taller, heavier, and made to stand high in the ancient temples where the townspeople had forgotten the truth. These people would look up at these idols with fear and devotion. This was the world that Prophet Ibrahim ﷺ was born into. From the time he was small, he watched people come and go through the doors of his father's idol workshop. They came with respect in their voices and coins in their hands, ready to pay to carry their little gods home. The same people would serve these gods food, light lamps for their comfort, and whisper their hopes, dreams, and worries into their stone ears. And every single time Ibrahim ﷺ watched, the idols did not turn their head. They didn't lift their hand. They didn't even speak. And he knew they would never answer. Yet people stood before these stone idols day after day, praying to them as if life and death could come from them. Even as a boy, something in Ibrahim ﷺ told him this was wrong. Ibrahim ﷺ was naturally a curious and intelligent boy. He was always watching and observing the world around him. This inspired a lot of questions. How does the rain know when to fall? Who makes the crops grow in season? What happens when we die? But his people could not answer it, and neither could their idols. The lack of answers deepened the doubts inside of him. He had been taught that this was his culture, his religion, but he did not want any of it. However, he could not give up his own people, his family, his father. So he stayed silent about the doubts that kept growing inside of him and his heart. And no matter how much he tried to fit in, Ibrahim ﷺ could not accept their gods. At first, Ibrahim ﷺ would just watch as grown men lowered themselves before the stone statues. They would beg and plead and act in ways he could not understand. He did not have the words for it, but he knew something had gone wrong in the world. He would look at the same painted faces of the same idols and try to imagine what the others were possibly seeing. All he could see were dolls, lifeless toys his father had made with his own hands. But his people weren't bothered at all. The idols were part of their streets, part of their houses, part of the very stories they inherited from their fathers and grandfathers and the fathers before them. No one ever seemed to stop and ask, what power did these dolls actually have? No one except Ibrahim ﷺ. When the questions grew too heavy, Ibrahim ﷺ needed to get away. It was as if something inside of him was writhing and trying to get out. The idols, the life his people live, it did not make sense. What could he do? He needed to be alone. And so, he left town. He walked past the last houses and their low walls. He crossed the fields towards the quiet of the mountains beyond. There, he began to climb. He climbed until the town below him seemed small enough to forget the market, the temples, and the idols staring with their empty stone faces. He climbed until he found a flat rock. It was high enough to see over everything. There he sat. He closed his eyes, took in a deep breath. The air felt wider, cleaner, lighter almost. He could hear his own heartbeat as he observed the beautiful, untouched world around him. The stars were scattered bright across the dark blue sky. The moon rose slowly over the far mountain ridges. It poured a shining silver light over everything in sight. A warm breeze curled around him and brushed his hair aside, and the crickets continued a song in rhythm with it all. Hours must have passed, because a new light bled into the dark sky. And then the sun appeared. It flooded the earth with heat and brightness until every star disappeared and the moon gave way. Night after night, he returned to that quiet place. He watched what rose, he watched what faded, and he watched what moved in perfect order above him. These were not carved things. These were not objects men could shape and sell and carry home. These were signs of something greater, a power beyond the foolish town and its temple of false gods. And one night, in his silent searching, Allah opened Ibrahim alayhi salam's heart. He guided him to the truth. Ibrahim alayhi salam received wahi like the messengers of God before him. His suhuf was a message, a revelation of truth. It confirmed the truth he always felt inside, Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, the all-powerful God above everything else. The confusion that had followed him since childhood began to clear. The world no longer felt like 1,000 disconnected things. It belonged together. It moved under one command. And above all change, above all created things, above all that rose and sank and passed away, there was one God who made them and ruled them, Allah. And Ibrahim alayhi salam knew. He first went to the one he loved most, his father. Inside the idol workshop, the faces were like they always were, blank, painted, and empty. Azhar, his father, worked with calloused hands, shaping another idol from stone. Ibrahim alayhi salam stood near him. He wasn't a confused little boy anymore. In fact, he saw things clearer than ever before. Allah had shown him a better way, and he wanted to show his father too. He knew this was going to be a big moment. He loved his father and respected him, so much so that he couldn't watch him live another day like this. He called him gently. Then he asked him why. Why did he worship things that couldn't hear? Why did he worship things that couldn't see? How could he worship something that couldn't benefit him in any way? For a moment, the workshop froze around them. There was no sound, no movement. Ibrahim alayhi salam took a chance. He told his father about Allah. He told him about the mountain, about the suhuf, about the truth. Enough, his father yelled. Azhar's heart did not open to the truth. Instead, he stood shaking, angry in disbelief. His pride had risen inside him like a brewing storm. He demanded Ibrahim alayhi salam to stop what he called foolishness, to be quiet and to obey, just to be like everyone else for once. But Ibrahim alayhi salam would not. He knew the truth. He knew Allah. Allah was with him, even if his own father was not. Pain and sadness tore through him, because he understood. He pleaded once more with his father, but Azhar cut him off sharply. There would be no listening, no words that could reach him now. His eyes were filled with a hate Ibrahim alayhi salam had never seen before. Leave, he said. Never speak of this again. The pain of the rejection cut Ibrahim alayhi salam deeply. But he would not respond harshly to his own father. He would not stop loving him. The truth of Allah was much bigger than his family. It was his mission to spread Tawheed. And so Ibrahim alayhi salam obeyed his father one last time. He left. He went to the neighbors. He spoke to men in doorways, to women carrying baskets, to the elders resting in the shade, to those in the temple who still could not see how absurd it was to worship rocks. He asked them to look carefully, to think, to wake up. How could they bow to what they made themselves? How could they ask what could not answer? How could they pray to stone? Some barely listened. Some brushed him aside before he even finished speaking, and some gave him the same answer again and again. This is the way of our people. This is what our fathers did. This is what we have always done. They simply didn't care. But Ibrahim alayhi salam did not give up. He went from neighbors to townspeople, from houses to gathering places, from private conversation to public warning, speaking in the crowds, speaking in the square. But the town continued the way it always had. The temples remained full, the offerings kept coming, and the rituals went on. Ibrahim alayhi salam called upon his people again and again, but they could not hear him. Time moved forward, and the town learned to ignore him and his calls. Before long, it was time for the annual festival to their gods. The whole town stirred with excitement. Families gathered food and gifts, the streets were decorated, and everyone prepared for the celebration. Everyone except Ibrahim alayhi salam. He watched and waited. He watched his people stream towards the idols and performed empty rites. They laid out food and gifts and other offerings carefully. They bowed and prayed to the silent stone idols. The ceremonies unfolded as they always did, long and meaningless. And when the rituals finished, the town prepared to leave for the rest of the festival. Someone grabbed Ibrahim alayhi salam's sleeve and said, "Come on, it's starting," expecting him to come too. But Ibrahim alayhi salam shook his head. He looked to the sky, and just for a second he paused, before he finally answered, "I'm not feeling well. I'm going to stay behind." It wasn't long before the streets emptied. Noise had drifted all away, and the temple finally fell silent. Ibrahim entered, and inside he found that the air was cool and damp. The idols stood frozen all around him, and they were decorated with flowers and food. The oil lamps flickered, casting shadows across their stone faces. These were the faces that never had once seen, heard, or answered anyone. Ibrahim alayhi salam walked among them. He looked at the offerings, at the fruit, at the bread, at all the wasted time and effort of his people. He couldn't understand. Something had to be done. He walked up to one of them, studying its carved face. He spoke to it. "What is it that you eat?" he asked. But the only response he got was his own voice echoing back. "Why don't you speak?" Silence. Ibrahim alayhi salam felt his heart race. What he planned to do next would change everything. There was no going back. He bent down and picked up an axe. The tool felt heavy in his hand, but he held onto it tightly. Allah had a plan for him. He took the axe and swung hard and fast. He struck the statue again and again. He shattered it entirely. The sound cracked through the hall. The idol was dust. But Ibrahim alayhi salam did not stop there. He moved to the next idol. He swung again and it crumbled. Then another and another. Wood splintered, stone broke. The idols all shattered against the floor. Dust rose thick in the air and the temple became a place of wreckage. He moved through each and every idol that stood. Heaving and sweating, he stood before the last idol standing. It was the largest of them all. It loomed above the others and the ruin of them. Ibrahim alayhi salam looked at it and he lifted his axe, but he didn't strike it. Instead, he had another plan. He took his axe and hung it around the neck of the idol. Then he turned around and walked away. It would be a few hours before the townspeople returned. And when they did, they found a disaster. Their shock turned into shouting and then into fury. How could this have happened? Who would do this? Who would dare? They looked at each other amongst them. And then one of them remembered. Ibrahim alayhi salam. They knew he didn't believe in their gods. They knew he had stayed behind. And so they brought him into the temple. All around them lay the shattered remains of the gods they had trusted. And above the wreckage still stood the largest idol with an axe left where all could see it. They confronted him. Who did this? They demanded an answer. But Ibrahim alayhi salam had always been a clever man. He looked at them and then looked at the last idol still standing. He pointed to their God who held the weapon. Ask him. And for one terrible moment, the truth was obvious to them all. They knew. They knew their idols did not speak. They knew they did not move. They knew they had no power. The townspeople grumbled in anger and frustration. They refused to deal with Ibrahim alayhi salam. They hardened and their voices rose and they pointed with their hands. If the truth could not be denied, then the one who exposed it needed to be punished. By the end of the day, Ibrahim's name had reached every corner of the town, and soon it would travel even further, to the court of a king, to a sentence of fire, and to the beginning of trials that would carry his footsteps across history. In a town full of idols, Ibrahim alayhi salam could not force his heart to bow to what was false. Allah had guided him to the truth, and once he knew it, he called others to it even when no one bothered to listen. This was his mission, and it began with questions, then with the yaqeen from Allah himself, and finally with the courage to stand against a world that refused to listen. In the next episode, that courage will be tested again. Ibrahim alayhi salam will come face to face with one of the most powerful men in the world of his time. He was a king who thought he controlled life and death itself. You've been listening to Golden Age Kids, stories that build hearts, minds, and legacy.